Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And since I will not be contributing, thank you for the opportunity.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And since I will not be contributing later, I just want to make my submissions as I second. Mr. Speaker, first, it's important that we correct some misleading statements that have been made. The Deputy Chief Whip on the other side suggests that debt to GDP ratio reached 100% in years gone by. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, when it was at its peak, it was 85.7%. In 2023, it was 76.4%. In 2024, it was 70.5%. It never got to 100%. This is a house of records, and we should not be misleading the Ghanaian public or putting things in history that are inaccurate. If he has any contrary specific facts, he should state them here. But, Mr. Speaker, let me specifically second this motion to adopt the report of your committee on the Bank of Ghana's conduct of monetary policy. Mr. Speaker, the reason for which it is the Bank of Ghana that handles monetary policy is that they issue currency, and they are responsible for preserving the value of the currency. Additionally, price stability is the first of the 6 economic policy objectives that any government wants to embark upon. Speaker, it's not enough to look at a reduction of inflation from 23% to 5% now and say that that justifies the 16 billion Ghana cedi loss of the Bank of Ghana on sterilization. It's not enough. You will recall that in 2025, right here in this chamber, we argued that the method that the Bank of Ghana was using in its attempt to ace the inflation figures were dangerous. Those methods were dangerous, i.e., the excessive sterilization. At that time, it was denied. When the Bank of Ghana published their figures at the end of the year, they themselves admitted that for the first time in Ghana's history, they sterilized over 93 billion Ghana cedis from the market. Sterilization essentially means that the Bank of Ghana has mopped up the money from the system so that people don't have liquidity to execute demand. That's why today the traders are telling you in town that, yes, you may say inflation has come down, but their goods are on the shelf and people don't have money to buy. Mr. Speaker, that sterilization cost us 16 billion Ghana cedis. And the majority side has been trying to convince Ghanaians that it's the cost of stability. It is not the cost of stability. It's the cost of bad policy choices. And I'll explain to you, Mr. Speaker. In 2022, inflation was 54% as a result of high crude oil prices. Remember that Brent crude was at $128 per barrel at the time. And so inflation went up to 54%. The NPP government reduced inflation from 54% to 23% before it left office. That was a 31, listen. That was a 31% drop in inflation. We didn't spend 16 billion Ghana cedis to drop inflation by 31 points. You bring inflation down from 23 to 5, which is only 18, and you lose 16 billion. And you say that is the cost of stability. What sort of mathematics is this? What sort of economic policy is this? And so this 16 billion Ghana cedis, which they have lost, is because of poor policy choices. They paid for things they didn't need to pay for. And that is why we've lost that money. And by the way, after we started complaining, now the governor says that he's not going to use this strategy again. So all that we've been saying is right, Mr. Speaker. My second point, exchange rates. This government likes to convince itself that the cedi started appreciating when they came to office. I borrowed the words of the Chief Whip. We are in a community of reading men. And so we read the 2024 Bank of Ghana report, which was published in 2025 under the signature of Governor Siama. Governor Siama says that the appreciation started in Q4 2024. It didn't start on your watch. And Mr. Speaker, it is because the domestic gold purchase program yielded forex, which forex is being used for intervention. It is only this government that says that it has a new name for intervention called intermediation. Remember, Mr. Speaker, when we said that they were intermediating or intervening and they said intermediation, they denied initially, and at the end of the year, we found out that it has been 10 billion Ghana cedis. That's what the Bank of Ghana was coming to tell the press and the whole country, that they said they didn't want him to speak before them. But that was as of December last year. Mr. Speaker, between January and now, how much intervention has gone on? we're expecting the Minister of Finance to tell us when he comes here tomorrow. But, Mr. Speaker, we, according to the IMF, are relying on high gold prices and high gold volumes. What will happen when gold prices go back from this 5-year high where it is at now? We are living on borrowed time, Mr. Speaker. Very finally, if you look at the series of economic and financial data published by the Bank of Ghana a few days ago, before the Monetary Policy Committee meetings, $1.2 billion of our reserves is gone. $1.2 billion of our reserves is gone. Our reserves have reduced by $1.2 billion. What have you used it for? Because you have told us that you are not doing intervention and that it is proceeds from the forex market that you are pumping. So where has the $1.2 billion gone? Mr. Speaker, we're expecting that when the finance minister shows up tomorrow, he will show us where this $1.2 billion is gone. Because we cannot continue with this exercise of continuously intervening and calling it intermediation and reducing the reserves of this republic, while at the back end, we are just buying gold whose sources are questionable for this enterprise. So, Mr. Speaker, going forward, we have two recommendations. Tight monetary policy does not mean excessive sterilization. We are happy that now the governor is listening and says he will no longer do it. Mr. Speaker, secondly, that structure where they were buying gold high and selling low to get forex to pump onto the market, we are happy that the governor has announced yesterday that he will no longer be funding the gold board. That is an admission that everything we have been saying here in this chamber is true. And now he is turning away from that action. If he follows these recommendations, it will bode well for him, for the Bank of Ghana, and for the Ghanaian economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the motion. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And since I will not be contributing later, I just want to make my submissions as I second. Mr. Speaker, first, it's important that we correct some misleading statements that have been made. The Deputy Chief Whip on the other side suggests that debt to GDP ratio reached 100%. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on this report. And Mr. Speaker, I think that the leadership on the majority side should give my chairman some more room to express himself. There are a lot of things in the report he wants to talk about. Mr. Speaker, I have 4 quick comments from this side as I second this motion. First is the fact that this debt management report we are looking at focuses primarily on debt to GDP ratio as a basis for analyzing our debt. And Mr. Speaker, in the report, it suggests that debt to GDP ratio is reduced from about 61% to about 44%, which is a good thing. And it states that the reason primarily is the appreciation of the cedi in the year 2025. But Mr. Speaker, it does not account for the fact that the NPP government negotiated about $5 billion of debt cancellation and another about $4 billion savings in cash flows on our debt stock. This is a very major reason for which we are seeing these good numbers, dropping from 61 to 44. And I think it's important that credit is given where credit is due. That was about 98% of the debt restructuring program. And Mr. Speaker, the second argument I want to make is that the debt sustainability analysis approach that is adopted in Ghana's debt management report, and it's not about the NDC, the approach that is used is a bit inadequate because it focuses primarily, as I mentioned, on the debt to GDP ratio. But nobody pays their debt to their GDP. Mr. Speaker, we should rather be spending some more time analyzing our revenue to debt servicing ratio, because you really pay your debt with your revenue. Or on the external debt side, looking more at our export earnings and comparing it to our debt servicing. Or perhaps even comparing debt servicing to tax revenue generally. And so as we move forward as a republic, Mr. Speaker, it's important to improve the DSA approach that we use for our debt management report. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, the scope itself is a bit too narrow. You will find that contingent liabilities are not accounted for in the debt analysis we are doing. The liabilities at state-owned enterprises are not accounted for. Guarantees that are given are not accounted for. And so it gives us a very narrow view of what our debt picture is. And we always get surprised at the end of the day. Mr. Speaker, as I support my chairman's motion, a few recommendations from this side of the House. We need a broader debt sustainability analysis, as I've mentioned, a broader scope in terms of what type of debt we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, we don't have to rely on cedi appreciation as a basis to say our debt stock has reduced. Because as you observe, in 2025, when the cedi appreciated by about 43%, as a result of the pumping that the Bank of Ghana has been doing, it appeared as though the situation was getting better. Just yesterday, when the Bank of Ghana published the new debt numbers, because of the about 8% depreciation we have seen year to date, our debt stock is gone up by about 47 billion Ghana cedis. So if you rely on appreciation to applaud yourself that the debt situation has gotten better, small depreciation, Mr. Speaker, and we are now having about a 40 billion Ghana cedis increase in our debt stock. By the way, this is apart from the nearly $1 billion that we approved for the government yesterday. For those who didn't follow yesterday we approved about $1 billion for the government. That will come and add to this. And already the IMF is predicting that we're going to end the year on about 50% to GDP. So it is important that we keep an eye on it. Very finally, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned at the beginning, the NPP government restructured about 98% in the pool of debt that was available for restructuring. 2% was outstanding between January 2025 and now. We're getting to 2 years. That 2%, the government is yet to conclude the restructuring. And it is important that they finish that one so that we can see the full benefit. Because if we don't, we'll still be deceiving ourselves that our debt has gone down when it hasn't. And very finally, Mr. Speaker, the most important thing is to get the domestic resource mobilizing measures to work so that you don't have to resort to these debts to fund your programs. If they don't work, you will be back to square one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the motion. Thank you for the opportunity to make some comments as we support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to start with a quick French expression. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. To wit, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Mr. Speaker, on the 15th of May 2026, the NDC government issued a statement announcing to the country that we have exited the IMF extended credit facility. Today is just about 9 weeks after the IMF left town. And today, Mr. Speaker, I don't want us to consider this loan application in isolation. In fact, if you look at the 3 reports that we are about to approve, plus the budget, we are about to approve almost $1 billion. Yes? $300 million currently for education. The education minister is doing his best. About $500 million for the roads minister. About $22 million for the finance minister. And if you look at the net borrowing in this year's budget, about $180 million. So 9 weeks after the IMF left town, we are about to approve $1 billion for this government. Mr. Speaker, I don't have a challenge with the purposes they have stated. In my 3 terms in this parliament, I'm yet to see any loan facility that cannot be justified. So I'm not about to argue about the uses to which they want to put these resources. But Mr. Speaker, there's a reason for which 9 weeks after the IMF left, this government is asking us to approve almost $1 billion. It is because their domestic resource mobilization measures have failed. Mr. Speaker, in Committee Room 1 and 2, the Honorable Forson promised this republic that they had a proper fiscal strategy, a better one, which was that they were going to remove taxes, not bring new taxes, and that they were going to grow revenue to 18% of GDP. I seconded the motion in this seat that day, and I said, if he would do that, we will all support him. Mr. Speaker, the outturn for 2025 shows that they have not been able to achieve 18% of GDP. In fact, in 2 different reports they've published, in one they say 15.7, in another one they say 16%. Meanwhile, they inherited 16% of GDP. It is because the domestic resource mobilization measures are not performing that 9 weeks after the IMF left town, they have gone back to the debt markets, and they are now asking us to approve close to about $1 billion for them. Mr. Speaker, the only caution I'll give to them, I've been on the other side defending loans, and I'm on this side looking at it from another lens. So the only caution I'll give them is that, first of all, our debt sustainability is something they should pay attention to. At the beginning of every administration, like we said about a year ago, you start with stability. And then when your revenue measures are not performing, like we told them, you start borrowing. And it is when you don't pay attention that debt sustainability becomes a problem. Mr. Speaker, this government has made a choice that it will use the limited resources at its disposal for some other purposes. We were here when the Bank of Ghana reports, and by the way, Minister, you still haven't presented the 2025 accounts of the Bank of Ghana to Parliament. We were here when the Bank of Ghana accounts told us that they have chosen to spend about 16 billion cedis on sterilization. It's there in black and white. We were here when the Bank of Ghana report said that they have elected to spend about 9.6 billion Ghana cedis on gold losses. Mr. Speaker, anytime we raise those ones, they quickly shut us down. It is because they have elected to use the resources for those other purposes. And now you are finding what the IMF wants about, the quasi-fiscal expenses. Look from state-owned enterprise to state-owned enterprises. They are now embarking on quasi-fiscal expenses, spending the money on other things. One giving money to EPA, another giving money to other things. It is that reason for which at the Central Treasury, they can't find resources to pay for some of these priorities, and they've gone back to the debt markets. Mr. Speaker, we have only two recommendations, even as we support this motion before us. Number one, it is important that they get the revenue measures right. Because if you play games with the revenue measures and the revenues don't perform, this is what you will be left with doing, going back to the debt markets. And today we are here to approve about $1 billion. Number two, Mr. Speaker, they have to adopt a whole of government approach when they are prioritizing expenses. Because if you look at it in silos, you would approve different expenses for different things. But when you adopt a whole of government approach, you will better prioritize the expenses, and possibly we may have used resources from the Treasury to pay for these very important things and not resort to the debts that they are bringing before this House. Mr. Speaker, that said, we support the motion that they have put before the House. I thank you for the opportunity.
There's a history to all of this. First of all, when this government assumed office, there were several top NDC people who were on trial, and there was no interest in deliberately trying to railroad them into jail, because the belief has always been that let the wheels of justice grind slowly, as they will.
Okay.
As they will. There were some of them crampo na omo cases. Omo a submission of no case. Emma courts no. Abuegu said they have a case to answer. You know, I know, everybody in this country knows that this government either filed nolle prosequis or withdrawals to get them all off the hook. Even including Omo submission of no case. Court no akase. No, they cannot uphold it. They have a question to answer. NDC said don't let them answer questions.
The AG exercised the mandate under the
Maybe I'm stating the fact.
Okay.
Then after that, they went on a spree chasing NPP people. Indeed, from Oma, substantively, we feel some more questions to answer, even to communicators. I mean, miracles, they say. And now, but now have a show in the documents. Me catch us say no, I'm coaching girl back. TikTok girl be with Kumasi. I am not enough in the area lawyers to be with her, because the last one, I'm jailing no 1 year. No girl no call court cry. No udi lawyer. That lawyer, ebijine muma na lawyer pray court and say, my lord, lady, your buyer, you are reigning now, pleading guilty. It wasn't on the advice of legal counsel available to her. Without prejudice to the proceedings that have gone on, let's take her plea again. Judge said there be convicting on her own plea. Everything has been brought to your attention. Say this girl, and one I'll take a plea. This girl's plea was taken without the advice of counsel. There are several of the issues that are going on. Me say, your friend is saying, "You will hold that back on friends." So in Team Fojo, Assembly Okan, in the name of the minority on the floor of Parliament, BNI for Abe Goofy or about you. Mimi Kobi Sadan. Ye nani coach now to stop that arrest. Kohe BNI boy says she share balaclavas. Oma kata kato many quick two near they say a member of Parliament because we can't say more yempe.
on the floor of Parliament?
Oh, or your press conference in the precincts of Parliament. That's a omokradi omokofa non-MPs by a press conference. Ata isadi, where a member of Parliament or a press conference in the name of the minority. We had to go in there and have it stopped. We've had several instances of intimidation in Kekaone, and now you bring this Wontumi thing. So this Wontumi thing is situated in a broader matter. Wontumi has not been convicted of being involved in illegal mining.
He's been convicted for facilitating illegal mining.
No, I've read the judgment. He's been convicted. He's been convicted. Yes. Six charges. It is all hinged on the first one. The core,
and the second one.
The first one. In fact, the first one, okay, page 28 of the judgment. I'll say that is the core of the issue. That conviction, which then all the others flow from. No, my lady argument, ni say, on only opinion, muno, won't to me as a person. Assigning a mineral right to somebody without the authorization of the minister. Yes. I have read several articles from various FM that show clearly say. Now, first of all, even the piercing of the veil now, say why? There are several processes that must be followed in it, and if you compare those processes to what you have done, it's a bit questionable. Secondly, nipa nankasa ono aye illegal mining no. Say ono I'm scot free. Say why plea bargain with the state. Plea bargain. And it doesn't sound odd to anybody. Everybody thinks this is normal. This is justice. I'm of the view that this is not. This is a weaponization of the justice system. Just like how they've been weaponizing the state security apparatus. Now, I'll end with this one. NDC for instance, bibi kon nasa woka etua omunyonko huniti etua duome mform ho. Eda ye kan parliament say mu weaponize state security apparatus no arrest honors bill conditions near them say oh the law is the law is eda ye che Martin Pebupe afi do ma bom so be gu office of the OSP no pe na de na sekan ni fe no etwa hatwa said the air cost no. And sometimes when I see some of the NDC CEOs near Kekana de omo justify omo can be almost near there. Yeah, na me bisa me say, so do they honestly believe say there air cost a justice at play? Because what is going on is a weaponization of the justice system. It's a weaponization of the law enforcement institutions. Now, so what now we are say can who say what do you baby in the system? I said do you bana we do no. So chino bi kase odibi yewa. Ebia na unyo jefo a obeka bia ma. Kakra meka e wo Wontumi. The lawyers have come to the view say, of course, we have the view that Wontumi is a political prisoner. This is being done to him because it's Wontumi, and they want to, squeeze him as part of the general squeezing to create a certain impression. That's why they will let off the hook. NDC people are more serious as some. We have negotiated 60-40 with him. 60-40, copy of the agreement. Anyway, who say plea bargain, say plea bargain. But that is the selective justice that they are going on today. Posterity, side of all of us. Oh yeah, say either say una hear prophet to say me I'm hear prophet. Because at the end of that interaction, I was asking him, say, what are the measures I will try to control inflation? Is it working? And are ways on the alternative you're doing? And let me give you some data. 2022, now inflation is 54% after crude oil prices could do about $128 per barrel. And I've shown you how crude prices has a transmission effect across the entire economy and shoots up inflation. By 2024, we are reducing inflation to 23% when we're leaving power.
Yes.
31% drop in inflation. That's a method that we were using, tight monetary policy, not sterilization. So essentially what we were doing was that we were hiking up the monetary policy rate to make sure credit creation was limited until there wasn't much liquidity on the market. But the government or the Bank of Ghana didn't have to be paying for it. TMU. Bringing down inflation from 54 to 23%, that is 31% drop. You issue a tightening of monetary policy rate. About way by, and this is the conversation I was having with Avle at the time, said, no more approach here then. And how does it solve the problem? And at what cost? Or buy no see into the sterilization. I don't know a question about do we appreciate it or not, into the sterilization. Or by fire inflation at 23%. As an inflation, 5.3%.
Less than
5.3%.
5.3, yes.
difference near 18%.
Drop.
18% drop. Into yeah, 54%, about 23%. That was a 31% drop. Yeah, more than 16 billion cedis for it. No, no defeat 23%. We do 5%. That is just an 18% drop. And also a boca 16 billion. So the question is not about whether or not we appreciate the drop in inflation. The question is, what has been the drop in this period, A, and B, what has been the cost? Because our 16 billion we in America say they didn't need to spend it in an attempt to fight inflation. Time I can normally argue, but anyway, by the way, see government say wajai. They are the part didn't know wajai.
Yes, but I think also no, in looking at the cost, and maybe all share the cost on a buying and asset on the state. But so we back down to the micro now. Yeah, share the cost on individuals, and some would say, okay, echo 54 no. And yes, some will be inheriting inflation at 51, I'm going to go 54.
Inflation.
And I'm going to sign about 23.
Inflation, you inherit inflation at about 16%.
Yes.
Yeah, they bar down to 7.5%.
Yes.
In fact, for almost 3 years, inflation was at single digits. It was when the crisis came, first from COVID, and secondly, when the war started, crude oil prices could do $128 per barrel. And the inflation peak could do 54. Yes, could do.
Yes.
Those were the market conditions that took us there. And there crude oil price I could do 91, he say. So fuel prices have gone up on the market. And now it's clear. I mean, when you ask the government, I say, oh, you know, Iran crude oil prices are cost. So that characterization say could do in itself is not correct. But here's the point I'm making. And I respect the argument you are making about, but how about the cost to the everyday Ghanaian?
To the everyday Ghanaian.
Economic decisions are always coming at a cost to somebody. But I'm saying to you, say, Nipa now, the inflation bar down by 31%. One spend 16 billion cedis. That's almost, I mean, close to double of what we moye. One mocha 16 billion.
Yes.
We no 18%, you know. 18% drop, you know. Also a boca 16 billion. Now, on only there, no, it doesn't cost you anything. And I make catch you say, it doesn't cost you anything. Make sure where it costs you something. So 16 billion, no. A come 34 billion loss, no. And also the sign back into the 96 billion net negative net equity.
Equity, no.
Then no make us one a bit here. Or say bones to Philip in a bit here. It is all catch us on only the end doesn't cost you anything. I'm telling you, sir, it's probably costing you even more.
But the businessman would say, sir, and they say me will see this now make up $1. See this a mess sign $1 no. And what form same timer never even 23.
And I make a choice so we are about on the backside. Because our 96 billion or the bebre businessman
I'm watching it here.
Once you now say increasingly adanse asokwa agenda one no be anya galamsey wo say o ma ye galamsey na ma ba be do nsuo asay poto kokan ye dan me say guy ba kwaye analytics on X water turbidity levels say said terrible ade anom so be fight galamsey in say 6 weeks or 7 weeks in the end no ubetua for it either through healthcare or through water prices ubetua for it. It is NDC be catcher or say oh on only the end we save bibia or the anim na natural I say aboa say bi adebino e soro na edindindin by inside no udi agro e west than it. That's the point I'm making to you.
And you still stand by your point, sir. Inflation figures on its own would not make sense unless you connect it to the real sector.
I have always,
and what's happening.
I said it when we were in power, and I say it. In fact, clip our boy with a and I'm saying it again today. And so Becca Adam Mikasa on the floor of Parliament, me catch say the most important thing people measure are lived experiences. So catch and say inflation about down. I say Obeko market. Now the electricity bill 28% up. The lived experience in our country. Or you cook any. What's inflation about down? Dollar about down. The cocoa price I could for the Dijano Crampos. Say, Untumintia. By the way, one our car says, say, what peggy cocoa into world market price. At the time, our car say, what is no world market price about down? Says, only say, a cost. Why are you not increasing the price for the cocoa farmer? Now, car say, Ubit and crash at March, cocoa farmers were still complaining, say, baby, and come sick. Into one casa will measure what they buy. And yeah, they are just looking at the data. The data, no, and a year analysis at the show say won't any transformation in the Ghanaian economy. They always say, oh, manufacture near maybe when him editing for. Na se nipa no say one double click and come on. Obefeel say, oh, Mrs. $100 is here form. Now make sure what you are paying at the back end.
Improvement in revenue from time I will make his comment way.
I mean, and yes, I'm a prophet of doom, and the makers of parliament, NDC, MP back was me a prophet of doom, and a prophet of doom. But I didn't know who's a DB Makacho say, yeah, what Bemuda. Ye never be a yeah, uncle ye, and a yin dear cool years. Until so starting now, Sasa be a bit to me a catch or said, I did where we did. I had never quack we. The San Penny for say, I grow a swap.
If you are no pa,
if you are no pana, I'll be at the time, I'm away 2025 mid-year review, and oh boy, at the time, no, now share fiscal tables now share senior corner, they will underperform on revenue. Mammy found quite check. Abra ye vete aban we see the ministers. No more catch and say, or more to say revenue 13% of GDP. Say, I fear no, you did now or mining more, sika about mining GDP no. Imun teacher mu 13% or han teacher mu do miensa and a bar by catching a bind their boy on Kohama. Now, because I bind one who more NPP are binding one who more until to me immobilize revenue into a more better fiscal strategy be a omadeba. Obey ye taxes our friend who say nuisance taxes. On fat tax from obey we no crana no more page do 18% of GDP. It is that time no yes analysis we try and say calculate so bet me idea we buy in na e be bon sama no. At the end of the year, no, you find out to say, Oba Bem, na 13%, na 16% of GDP. As at now, figures are published for 2025, we are now about 15.7% of GDP. But you are going to form.
No, a drop it.
A drop. Into what the revenue, no, aye politics. What the year politics we no. So, minor revenue effort, no, is what. But also, I publish another report. Almost say, Asabi do 16.1. Now, Okachre say Hena Ubenya. Oka say 18. Tis all by 16. Now, after we 3 taxes, now the 8 new taxes, including Doomsaw levy in County Adina Bay. Was the best scenario 16.1. Then why? And you see, because revenue no perform into no onyesika and spend. Then we are not better that I'll say fiscal discipline. This year 2026 year revenue actually by about 4.7%. Revenue is already underperforming by about 4.7%. Into to hide it and pretend say we are doing well. We cut expenditure by about 13.8%. So that will be your primary surplus actually. Now expenditure no dey be ameka say enye numbers keke. Expenditure no a school dan bi, a hospital bi, a obi a na o se fa na djuma, a adibia na o sa ban ye, gota bia na o sa ban hwe ne ye. Se wo ye krokro de John. Na wan focus ma figures no amwa no. Na enu nti wo hide na say wo betete expenses no so. Obi wi na djuma e wo se nka the expenses ne ye no. Went to me anye. Many will come has said, me 2 examples. But no speaker say we are cutting our quote according to our size. But you see, a buy program, and I'm a draw man. Who now draw program as a buy now, so obey win where they are some Ghana for. Na akomasikano, obey see, Nescana be counsel. Na be counsel, a few the idea of cano. One more than Nescana, now be cut expenses now. So so called fiscal surplus now can artificial. Intimincha idea. Okay, I say Garrett Bekatcher. In fact, World Bank Bekatcher will say Garrett program ne delay because a buying way at the expenditure constraints abeshim or paper figures no more figures na efe. If we eche dance you toy, I mean Kayo Bia, nipa hini uye.
Yeah, 30 something.
34. And them say be 6 year and a 6 year I know they can't 34 no way.
40.
That is the cost of agrona mudino. And then answer so here World Bank Korea Bekatcher will say energy sector debt was say omutumi etuetua na omututua na energy sector debt recovery program no oma downgrade implementation because abandon intua adding into because of paper primary balance figures no man efe and the into paper primary balance figures no man efe because the revenue nim perform the into the revenue nim perform or the ni na politics kai dem hana no bet na na broadcast say we taxes we see na revenue be costro e kwan be no be close gap na be ba no or say VAT refund na 6%, no better so about 4%.
Yes.
Okay, I say Jampu Betro Facebook said this is the most brilliant analysis I wanted. Away. And the revenue need actually by 4.7% into cut expenditure by 13.8%. And so 13.8% of GDP now one spending no. Agenda Ubi Chrome agenda 111 na. And what say yes na eji obi nkwa and our sacrifice. Okay, I said
but Abanso announced this intervention through GRA our port because a port and say one area by Nyeska Efipa into the introduced publican AI. As I say, Mama Yang said now about duty amount food tria the correct actual figures. That should be raking in some revenues, no?
Yeah, maybe data or no data or the buy or say revenue in perform after all of that. Tell you the fiscal strategy in the buy. After no revenue no 4.7% behind schedule.
And where Bank of Ghana they buy?
Where Bank of Ghana summary of economic and financial data or more publishing. Just because before every MPC meeting, nobody can publish data. Into any analyst can look at the data. Them say they will be doing their MPC press conference. Yeah, where more data or more they have, and it buttresses the point. As someone catch cancer, what they are doing here politics, revenue. Akohumasika na no ne de hwe o money na. What the purpose? Because so person o kire say wona se be wodo bia until me tax we feel, me tax we feel, me tax we feel, me tax we feel. Yeah, ba mu 2017. Yeah, bi. Kokan is a State of the Ghanaian Economy Report. Omo analysis na che o say sade na ye na a bo revenue form. Until at the time one ye hit by energy sector crisis. Time go 4G and take or pay $1 billion a year. Financial sector resolution ebe kan ho number 2 na yem plan for. And also na we say yitua. Che uwie ya fi COVID. Uni revenue say also spend be kan na fi your fiscal space ni na ye there. Is the same thing na ban we say aye. Na no dey born kokwa at the beginning say tie men ko repeat it and no na yet win. Nti ene no o catch us say when your primary surplus and the primary balance near positive artificial because the one is all compressive expenditure. One of the most critical parts of expenditure or compressive capital expenditure. Capital expenditure no na dey acquiring infrastructure projects near there.
But how would you say so compressor when all over the country big push project air cost?
Minister ne ko na camera for di nachi ofiri ho a kohwese omo ye adwuma bia e da okọ voter region one te se maame ne ba bonten be ka chen se minister wo ba na camera for abegu ase e na contractor na abegu na afi ha hwe nkoso one hwe o TV so omo data omo anka se omo data say capital expenditure omo only 58% of their target as at Q1 41% underperformance on capital expenditure. Enye me data. Omo anka so omo data. Kai hu so say capital expenditure is a big push. President catch and say money will not be a problem. Where you need to.
Yes.
Until why is the data saying 58%? Why is the data saying 58%? And you see, going back to the first question, me person may sound like me a prophet of doom, but there has not been a single assemwa me no abetna studio as a me nkrata maka akire wa abana de aye kano enye no.
I've heard you speak on the floor our parliament. One of the issues are why consistent about, and I believe say announce one major issue we determine the elections 2 years ago. Now unemployment, and on unemployment what kasa bebre, and especially on 24-hour economy. Otsina say minister presented budget review now. You expect him to touch on 24-hour economy?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Marinchia wetie for so. Didn't you expect the whole minority caucus Juma on behalf of the New Patriotic Party and the people of Ghana? You expect to say minister no ebe kasaba the 24-hour economy because 24-hour economy was their flagship economic intervention 2024. Omutoma Ghana for you say none of the best solve Ghana economic problem. No, on the time 2024 election, no, not two issues are ubano economy ni more hydro back stability. On say from 2022 time global shocks no emu pija ya pa no yeah economy ni hihimie. Crude oil prices could do at a point near by $128 Brent crude per barrel. Currency, now depreciated significantly. Enti ohwe petrol prices on the Ghanaian market kra ne senior petrol so translate into transport fares ne aduane ne bibia na enema ayuram kakra nti you started a process of recovery. Obekaya sa process of recovery no under the IMF program no and no ne boy made inflation bad down 54% be do be 23 you know appreciation of the currency started in Q4 2024 near there. By the time no another problem so they say nipa be near Juma. In fact unemployment was about 31% at that time. Into our promise they say the 24-hour economy but then the productivity be in the economy because say Juma ba ko nipa miensa shifts number into they could triple the workforce around that time. Now productivity no so bit me my export na forex na ma currency no so agina. That was the economic strategy the buy the year nyoma youth ni energy and idea. Since omo buy who so ma abandon 24-hour economy as they advertised it to us.
Have they?
They have abandoned the 24-hour economy as they advertised it to us. Some catch say 133.
Yeah, but they told you it's a first year, no? Now say omu put building blocks no together, and you called for sa document.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Omu the policy document ne buy.
Absolutely.
Omu say omu set up a secretariat. Omu the office.
Omu the emrakra buy.
Omu the home range na aba. And the affair na then they are going into the implementation phase. Now we've heard say oko downstream oil sector now. Filling stations they are started with 24-hour economy. They've told you that.
But my go back to no see year one or more building blocks.
Yes.
No more the home running policy near there. But policy no name run they buy any building blocks on the buy. It has nothing to do with what they told us about. I'm a ranking member on the economic committee. From page 1 to the last page, we went through it. It has nothing to do with it. Don't be buying. I'm sure we create 24-hour economy secretariat. As our secretariat, also we no more export. Also we no more small and medium scale enterprise. And na Ghana Enterprises Agency, Ghana Export Promotion Agency,
yes.
And no codified into a piece of legislation. It had nothing to do with
133.
In fact, to the extent say yen yekofa manifesto be kai say no, what promise 133. Inti inyuma na muka sa mube create 133 na mo create no customs, GRA, passport office, DVL in kekane ade no. Ye private members amendment. Say yen fen bill no. Me ma honorable yabo ama efia constituency any move sa proposed amendment no omo reject it said there be omo pay 133 bia o enti sa de no the bar parliament me kensi so dia had nothing to do with a 24-hour work cycle or a 133 shift or tripling the workforce as they explained it to us. In fact, what kind the object of the bill and any provisions are about accelerated export development, about small and medium scale enterprises, just a duplication of functions are not Ghana Enterprises Agency, ni Ghana Export Promotion Council. And until now, we no. Say, almost more can say, almost signing MOUs of about $5 billion. Almost as also the list be about some filling stations be laughable. And let me tell you why it's laughable. Obi, you know, before NDC, near several filling stations are here 24 hours, and several filling stations are here anajo.
Yes.
Friday nights me call Potters Echo Vampire. Oh, sorry, I appear better say India for a Juma on factory bill Potter City Etelwano or Muzwana Junina Yejuma, even before the NDC came to power. But some person who's a policy now would buy no. There's a positive correlation between that policy and Ubia. What you do is say would demonstrate so be a policy intervention we na me the buy. And also me say no bentin because of intervention. In fact, in econometrics, your analysis be a friend show test. Into overpeke the data before the intervention and the data after the intervention. Now the RSSP no whether or not I don't know I translate in BBS anyhow. No, my call is to say 300 and something filling stations be Ejuma. I do not filling stations are Ejuma. In fact, on number no man that state, Omunko Usu night market. No munko ade omo na ye adwuma Usu night market the dana before 24 hours bebano any watchman for ne ade nyina na ye omo night adwuma no munko ani na nkan because this is a laughable approach to say we na say 24-hour economy no adwuma. No serious economist or no serious policy analyst will accept this. And the reality is that the 24-hour economy policy as they sold it to millions of young people.
And yeah, no need the
In fact, I don't know they've thrown it out.
In the Ochina, what do you expect the finance minister to say about on
to be truthful, say the omo kind and yeah no more diso na the omo ka so mo diso no crampon and so baby. Mami chawa de Ghana Fiscal Service say on the watch of the NDC, no, youth unemployment West today. It's now 32.4%. Data we can't on the floor of Parliament. It's now 32.4% is West. In fact, greater say we are disaggregation by regional. Greater Accra region Crampo there is now about 48 point something percent, almost 50%. Into Greater Accra, Ushianko for 2 be back unemployed. On the watch of the government that said it was bringing a tripling of the workforce and a 24-hour work cycle. Into quite obvious said the 24-hour economy almost a no a big critique increase in productivity. No my export to be every month. Forex said they be supporting the Ghanaian economy. No. Yamutu. Yamutu. It's not happening.
In the current budget, are buying a implement make budget available for 24 hours economy.
110 million Ghana cedis. Out of Sika, appropriate amount. NDC for the last 2 years. Do you know how much money that we have given them? The people of Ghana have given the NDC government.
As a Sika buying a spending yeah, the amount buying say on farm more.
Now on one the open fenye. On one priorities. On no be choose. Se budget no enyama na metro. On no tro one. Ti the yen sky the amano. So on share for the priorities. Unim. 650 billion Ghana cedis. What a figure no?
650 billion Ghana cedis
in 2 years. Any the amount NDC abai. And on no say the flagship economic policy we ye 110 million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
It even shows how they prioritize this thing. They no crampo no. SAS cannot say I don't know why allocating. Say you clearly and then a press conference can say NDC obo figure men yini. Obo figure also call check and say how much cash has actually been received by the agency. Because our Greek minister Amayati say NDC be catch us say we're releasing 1.6 billion a Greek minister obwa. Because sa audio money now can over commitment authorization na be 900 million. And we call a Greek ministry and Kasa next car baby do a baby 400 million. And even this 110 million now or more can. Me sure say by the time we sit down half year and look at how much has been released, so minister never can crotch now. I'll be surprised if it's even more.
But what if the minister tells you tomorrow, say the 110 no was not say Sikaya de koye 133 a year Sika to maybe help run the secretariat, but rather consistent with no promise, no a private sector no be incentivize na omumum afanipa sa threshold, and that's what they are going to do.
Because that's not what you told them. Who catch them say? Okay, lecture be crop say no better alternatives say pudong there where you be say watch also we went through a full debate on this matter. And they exhausted the answers. They told us now the architecture of that policy is 133. So when you release money for the secretary, what are they supposed to use it for? They're supposed to use it and ensure that the 133 happens. And I may catch us say, maybe sure say because it's revenue measures are collapsing. And until even the expenses are more promising, including this 110, they are not able to meet it. I'll be surprised if they've even given them maybe 60% of SARS. I will be very, very surprised.
Forson ba na said mo year with 1D1F. Mo announcing incentive package. Private sector no and jump on no mo nye de ompeso mo ye no. So no so ba no be yes announcement nibi of incentive packages ebe pushy agenda 133 na mo be je atum.
Why is it taking you 2 years
to do that?
To bring the incentive package for the most important economic policy that you yourself said was going to transform the Ghanaian economy. 2 years. Meanwhile, by where you Chief Justice, or the tribunals, Belaba, and no crime, your honey friends say, I coach TikTok about Kumasi, they are bringing her to Accra. Ubai, look at what you are prioritizing. Now, most important economic intervention is taking you 2 years. I feel Ababe announce it. Incentives. It will be too little, too late. Because you see, whenever you announce incentives, it takes a while for the private sector to internalize it and then respond to it. It says, I bring now be announce incentives. Time ben a private sector and be internalize it. Now am I responding to? In any case, this media review is not a platform to announce new strategies, new interventions, new policies. What kind of Public Financial Management Act now mid-year review, an opportunity for you to update us on policy now or the bar before the year now. Your man who see kase koye no.
Saying echo.
Say. That is what it's about.
And also was
That's what it's about. It's not about Ubabe announcing new, announcing new policies. All the measures are basa Ubedis Canada koye. About trees went to me and media and also Babe announcing new policies. Now one about serious.
Obetima requested Sikabio from Parliament.
We understand that he's coming by statement. He's not coming by motion. He's just coming by statement to inform the House. So he's not coming to request for new money. So or make any new promise, it is an unfunded promise. Nobody should take it seriously. Any new promise that is made Ochnano, it is an unfunded promise. Because near Oba na funded the crown. Onyes can fenye. Yenya kwani according to the revenue conversation. I'll take you into that.
Vice President.
We are gathered in this room this afternoon at the Christian Council of Ghana at a time that our nation is still grappling with the day-to-day challenges. 7 decades after independence, we still have no beds in our hospitals and no hospital.
He's a brother, he's a friend, he's a person of great humility, very humble. He's a person of great honor. He gives